What I'd like to do today is to offer some initial findings about the long-term impact of Birthright Israel. Well, previous research, as most of you in this room know, demonstrated that there were strong and important attitudinal changes as a result of participation in Birthright Israel. Our work also showed that there was some evidence of increased levels of connection to Israel, connection to a local Jewish community, actual engagement in a local community. But to some extent, the evidence was disappointing. The strength of the attitudes were never in line with the behavior that we were able to measure. So in this study, we wanted to find out down the road, 5 years, 7 years, 8 years, 10 years later, is there increased involvement in the community? And a particular focus of our study was to understand the choices that young adults make about their family lives, about spouses, and about raising children. So let me summarize, and again, these are snapshots of what we found. This is one question that we asked just of the participants. We asked them a number of items, a number of questions about how they thought about their experience. And this particular pie chart is a good summary of it. Bottom line is that participants 5, 6, 7, 8 years after the program still had a very, very positive view of the program. And the majority of them saw it as a life-changing experience. Would that they said that about the courses that I teach at the university. So I'm going to show you now a series of slides which summarize some of the evidence about connection to Israel, involvement in the local community, and some of these marriage and family variables. And in each case, the summary of it is on the right-hand side of the slide. This is our measure, the standard measure of connection to Israel. This is essentially how many people mark the highest end of the scale, saying that they are very much connected to Israel. And in this case, the participants were nearly 1/4 more likely to be very much connected to Israel. One of the interesting things about the data, and it has in part to do with the nature of the population that went on Birthright during the period 2001 to 2004. It was a time of the Intifada, Matzav. It was perceived to be dangerous by some to travel to Israel. So there were slightly more people who applied to the program, who were highly engaged young adult Jews, and they just hadn't been able to get to Israel under other auspices. One of the things that we found is that the less engaged you were, or the less your prior level of engagement, to some extent education, the stronger the effect of the program. So essentially the effect of Taglit is greatest for participants who come from families where Jewish ritual and Jewish education is not the norm, and you can see that on the left side of the slide. Now in all of these comparisons, we're looking at people who went on the program, the participants, people who didn't go on the program. They are by background indistinguishable. In other words, they have the same basic levels of education, the same kinds of family involvements. To the extent that they're not different, we made some relatively small statistical adjustments to make these groups comparable. This is the measure of participation, important community activity, attending services. This is the probability of attending monthly or more. You see Participants are 28% more likely to attend services than monthly or more than non-participants. We had a measure, this is an attitudinal measure, of the importance of marrying a Jew. Participants were almost 50% more likely to say that it was very important. And these were the unmarried, non-Orthodox participants and non-participant applicants. In terms of marriage, again, we've focused on the non-Orthodox. There were Orthodox individuals who participated, people who came out of a day school background typically, but we put them aside for these analyses. And some will look at this and say this is the most dramatic finding that we have, that the non-Orthodox participants are almost 60% more likely to be married to a Jew. So what did we learn? And I've run through this pretty quickly. Again, you have the details in your folders. First, that participation in Taglit Birthright Israel, is a life-changing experience. Participants become strongly connected to Israel. Participants develop a sense of Jewish peoplehood. Participants are more likely to marry Jews and to seek to raise Jewish children. My summary of it is that marriage and family is a way for these young adults to vote Jewish, to vote to be part of the Jewish people. So what does this mean for the Jewish future? And I propose these understandings only to stimulate discussion and to begin a conversation. Well, the first is that intense, meaningful educational experiences matter. I think oftentimes we have this view that the trajectory of Jewish life is fixed, it can't be changed. What Taglit Birthright Israel demonstrates, and this evidence pretty strongly demonstrates, is that you can alter these trajectories. Second is that Judaism and Jewish life can be made relevant for the next generation. We call them millennials, or we have other terms for them. A generation that has unlimited opportunities, or it seems unlimited opportunities, to engage with other elements of culture. And it's especially important for those who've never benefited from intensive Jewish education and Jewish experiences. And the final, call it implication, is that engagement with Israel is a powerful unifying force. That I've often been asked, if one sent Birthright participants to one of the places I've never been but would like to go, Cancun, would you in fact have the same impact? And everything we know about Birthright suggests no. That there is something about being Eretz Israel, there is something about learning about one's culture and heritage, and that Taglit has the potential to engage the majority of diaspora young adults, and in so doing, transform Jewish communities, not only in the diaspora, but also in Israel.